Welcome to Talking Giants. Ravens mailbag, Ravens cleanup, Ravens mailbag. I almost forgot what team we played on Sunday.
Yeah.
We're presented by John Boy Media. I'm already out of whack if you're listening. Like, these guys are unprepared. We're actually not. We actually have a full sheet of what we're going through. I'm Bobby here with Justin. Got some mailbag voicemail questions to get to. Justin, how are you doing 4 days out from a chance to be in the playoffs?
I don't blame you for not knowing who we played because last Sunday was irrelevant. It was irrelevant whether we won, whether we lost, doesn't matter because this Sunday is it. This Sunday is it. I am feeling a little anxious, not gonna lie. I'm just anxious about the Giants' future overall. Probably more anxious about that than the actual game. But I'm trying to drown my anxiety in just trying to prep and look at as much data and as much information that I can about Dallas, about the Giants, and give it to the world. Just tell it to the world. That's how I've been harvesting my energy this week.
Yeah, it's we'll talk about this more in the Friday pod and it's a weird dynamic where it's like part of us we have to prepare for the season to end, like on our end, like talking Giants wise. Like, we have to do some preparation for the season to end, but also it's like we may be playing a playoff game, in a week. So
we could either have like a top 5 pick. We could either have like a top 5 pick, or we could be playing
hosting a playoff game.
Tom Brady in the first round of the playoffs at home and have the conversation of we could legitimately maybe beat them.
Oh, we can't beat them. I that's who I want. I want the Bucks. I want the Bucks so bad. Beating the Bucks in the playoffs, you don't understand how much satisfaction that would bring to me, especially being down here in Florida. So that is my goal. Even though I did get carried away a little bit, going into doing offensive coordinator research last night when I should have been doing the O-line report. O-line report's out now. All right, Justin, you got anything before we get into some of these mailbag voicemail questions?
No, let's dive right in.
All right, take it away, Steve.
Mail time.
The mail's here. Come on. Bye, guys. Here's the mail. It never fails. It makes me want to wag my tail. When it comes, I want to wail.
All right, thanks, Steve from Blues Clues. Justin, let's get into the mail.
All right, we have our first question from Hot Dog. Talking about the Giants offense, how would you fix the offense this offseason? In my opinion, we shouldn't spend too much resources on the offensive line. They are young and they are getting better. I say get a great wide receiver, depth at tight end, and obviously a new offensive coordinator. Does that do it for you, Bobby Skinner?
Yeah, he basically said like everything. So yeah, we need basically everything besides quarterback and running back. Offensive coordinator is obviously the big thing, which, it's crazy that you've probably seen this stat by the time you're listening to this episode. This was the most aggressive game by Jason Garrett so far. And it like by far. It was more aggressive than like Kitchens. And Kitchens called a more aggressive game than any Garrett game. So I don't know if that's breeding from what Freddie Kitchens did, or it's just it's a different game because it was the Ravens, but it was aggressive, and it had Daniel Jones, which we'll talk about in the next question. Like, it was letting him read the field, read blitzes, and get the ball out, and hold on to the ball a little bit. I liked what I liked out of him. That being said, that is not enough. Like, they have to fire Jason Garrett. They have to fire Jason Garrett and then go from there. And they're obviously going to work on this offense in the offseason, whether it's, picking up an offensive lineman or wide receiver in free agency, what they do with Evan Ingram, who I do think will be back for 2021.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing is for sure, they have to add a wide receiver, whether that's in the first round, second round, or free agency. There's no way they can leave those three elements without coming away with a wide receiver.
Yeah, you can argue they can possibly add 2. I mean, I know you're invested in Sterling Shepard. I know you want to be invested in Darius Slayton, but let's face it, Joe Judge doesn't really have a connection to Darius Slayton. And Darius Slayton was a 5th-round pick. So I know we believe in Darius Slayton. I know Darius Slayton has showed that promise. This is a good question. If the Giants pick up 2 wide receivers that could possibly get significant playing time this offseason, 2 through free agency, 2 through the draft, 1 through free agency, 1 through the draft. I think that would be more likely. 1 through free agency, 1 through the draft. Out of Sterling Shepard or Darius Slayton, who would you be more okay with? Not necessarily maybe not parting ways, but them getting significantly less playing time.
Well, Shepard's going to be in the slot again next year. We'd all assume when Tate's
Right.
out, he's in the slot, and that's where he looks his best. So you're not going to move on from either. Sterling Shepard doesn't really have any trade value, but Darius Slayton getting less playing time, but being used, I'm fine with that. And also, say that they get one in free agency, and then in the second round they go get a guy like Sage Surratt. Sage Surratt may not be ready right away.
Right. No, that's a good point. We got a bunch of
it's starting to piss me off, to be honest.
We got a bunch of sounds happening around us. This is what happens when we record early in the afternoon.
Yeah.
All right, so that's
I'm about to lose my mind.
Yeah. So, Hot Dog, you pretty much touched on it all there.
But anyways, I tried to finish that as quick as possible because I heard an ambulance coming. Oh man, about to be another ambulance because I'm about to lose it.
Tell us about your offensive coordinator that you fell in love with last night. That very well could change in a couple weeks.
Yeah, that's not. Yeah, it's probably not going to happen. Ken Dorsey, he's the QB coach for the Buffalo Bills, who I think we've all liked the way the Bills have done stuff. Hell, Joe Judge tried to get Brian Dabble over, their offensive coordinator last offseason. They blocked it, obviously. He was the QB coach for Cam Newton and with the Panthers in those MVP years, so there is a connection to Dave Gettleman. There's somewhat of a connection to Joe Judge through Brian Dabble. So if Brian Dabble doesn't get a head coaching job, which he very well may, like Ken Dorsey probably will be my top target. Like I really like him, and he was the QB for the greatest college football team of all time. Maybe definitely top 3, but he was the QB for that Miami Hurricanes team.
Yeah, you got me sold. Big Ken Dorsey fan. All right. Do we want to talk about Daniel Jones? I feel like it's a good transition. We're talking
Just having
about
the Miami guy would be cool too. You guys,
I know.
I have
Yeah,
an affinity for Miami guys.
It's right at your heartstrings.
You know what I've realized? I'm just an ACC football fan. Like I like Miami. I'm a big Duke gang guy now because of Daniel Jones, and now it's like I want Chris Rumph. UNC, I love all their players. Clemson, we've gotten players from there. And like Dexter Lawrence, and there's like these other small guys like that I like. I mean, I'm just an ACC football fan. I have realized that in the past year.
Fun football is played in that conference. All right, we want to move on to Eli Wortman.
Yes,
Eli Wortman at Eli Wortman. Bobby, this is directly at you, Bobby. You seem very excited that DJ hasn't thrown a pick in 143 or whatever snaps, but wouldn't you rather have him have 8 touchdowns and 3 interceptions? Wouldn't you rather have him have 8 touchdowns and 3 interceptions?
Absolutely. And honestly, I'm not excited about that number because I posted that number that he hadn't thrown an interception in 5 games, which was like 165 throws or something like that. It wasn't that I was excited about that, but I just wanted to put it out there for he turns the ball over people. It's like, well, he actually, since that Tampa game, hasn't turned the ball over besides once against the Cardinals, where I'm sorry, I'm not mad at him for fumbling that ball. We spent time talking about that after Cardinals
He got
game.
lit up.
And the fact that he was having to nurse both legs in that game, only one at the time of that hit, but nonetheless, it's just kind of like he's not turning the ball over like crazy. But yes, I agree. I've always had the mindset of I will sacrifice some turnovers, 4 touchdowns, 4 points. This game, man, I know they only scored 13 points. We brought a little context to it of like explaining what happened on each drive, whether it was not being able to convert and kick field goals or
Drop passes.
Daniel Jones, the Ravens threw a lot at him, different types of blitzes, stuff coming from different places, and Daniel Jones played really well, and it happens to coincide with Jason Garrett being aggressive. Like I said, the most times Jason Garrett's done the 215-plus route things that we've talked about was 12. That was versus Chicago in week 2. Did it 19 times.
Wow.
19 times. They were hitting balls up the seam. And they had free rushers coming at Jones. So he was under pressure, having to get the ball out quick. Evading to his left and getting out passes. Like Daniel Jones, I know they only scored 13 points, but I was super impressed watching when I went back and watched the All-22 film of Daniel Jones in this game, man. Like he did really well. Like he operated well, in this game. It just sucks they were down by so much. And what are the 40 attempts? 41 attempts, 19 of them were aggressive by Jason Garrett. And I don't think that's a coincidence that the more aggressive the game plan, the better we saw Jones.
What's the criteria for your stat again? How many guys need to be running 15 yards downfield?
Two players running a route that is designed to go 15 plus yards.
Okay.
So like if you're running a go ball and you're at 13 yards and Jones throws it underneath to a slant, that's part of that play. I don't be like, that doesn't count. And most of it was coming from underneath. It wasn't him chucking the ball downfield. It was the Ravens were blitzing. They were attacking downfield. And because they're blitzing, they have less guys covering. You got to cover those guys deep. Right. And it was opening stuff up underneath. That's why we saw Yak. So it's basically what we've been preaching all year.
Yeah, and Yak has been absolutely non-existent on this team, especially on balls thrown less than 10 yards. That it's really been non-existent. You see, there has been barely any wide receivers besides Sterling Shepard that has caught a ball less than 10 yards and have gotten more than 10 yards after the catch, which is unfortunate. And in the whole conversation of Daniel Jones not throwing enough touchdown passes, I looked up something Sunday morning to see. When was the last time a Giants quarterback started at least 10 games and didn't reach 10 touchdowns in a single year? And Jeff Hostetler in 1991, backup quarterback who took over for Phil Simms, did not reach 10 touchdown passes when he started over. It might have been 10 or 11 games right on the dot. I think Phil Simms started 4 games that year, and then he got hurt. So I hope Daniel Jones gets over 10 touchdown passes. That would be nice. Because really, they do this Sunday, there is no excuse for how Freddie Kitchens called the game 2 weeks ago and for how Jason Garrett called the game last week. There was no excuse for them not to build off of that and score 3 offensive touchdowns this week, in my opinion.
No. And like I said, a lot of the touchdown numbers have been affected a little bit by them running. Like they do pound it in when they get inside the 5, which is a nice, but I am really getting frustrated by all the noises kind of happening outside my office.
It's a tough episode for both of us. I have the son. If you're listening on the podcast app, I have the son.
We're never doing this during the day again.
No, never doing it during the day. Never doing it during the day. So it's tough, but we're getting through it. What did I want to say? So it was a couple weeks ago, people could pull up the receipts and basically say, but Justin, you were fine with Daniel Jones not throwing touchdown passes like in the middle of the season. But that's because you kind of have to look at things from a game by game basis, where at the time the Giants offense, they were improving. And there was a point in this season where the Giants offense was projecting to be average. And that was when Daniel Jones was completing 75-80% of his passes.
Yeah, playing perfect.
Basically playing perfect. That is when the Giants offense was projecting towards average. So now the quarterback isn't playing perfect. He's not playing terrible, but the quarterback isn't playing perfect. So then the rest of the offense has gone down. So that's why I feel like it's okay I'm playing the results. It's okay to critique the lack of touchdown passes when there is just zero scoring happening versus you're actually somewhat scoring at an average rate versus the Bengals versus the Eagles and those games. So we need the offense to show up this Sunday.
Yep. So yeah, I mean, I was just impressed with him this game. I thought he did a lot of good stuff.
Yes,
and he wasn't able to run. They're not able to do the read option. So I thought it was pretty good. Stay aggressive, but also fire Jason Garrett. Still, it's too late. It's too late to make up for this year.
It's too late to apologize.
Second worst scoring offense in the NFL. Keep repeating that, people. Don't let them talk. Here's something that scared me, Justin. Somebody tweeted at Bod Papa talking about the bad offense.
Mm-hmm.
And he tweeted something like not having Saquon Barkley may have something to do with it. And then Carl Banks quote tweeted it with don't tell them that. That scares me that those two know that Jason Garrett's coming back. They can't. Do not accept them bringing Jason Garrett back.
Yeah, I actually would pay money to see John Mara stand up at that press conference, right? At that end of the year press conference and try to give fans the Kool-Aid that not only will Dave Gettleman be coming back, but also Jason Garrett will be coming back. And that was acceptable. Like this year, this offensive performance was acceptable. I really want to, I don't want to see it, but I would pay to see John Mara give that speech and try to give us that Kool-Aid.
Yeah, you can't do it.
Can't do it.
I'm frustrated right now. I'm so frustrated. I'm getting hit with. We're never recording it during the day again. I just want to let our listeners know that we're never doing it again because I'm about to lose my mind.
It's okay. It's okay. Let's
People are like, can I come over? I know you can't come over. I'm work. Oh my god.
Can I come over? I want to come over. We have a really good question from Austin Iannetta.
Break something right now.
And it's about the offensive line, which Bobby, you probably know a little bit about the offensive line. Austin Iannetta at Austin_Iannetta. Are you guys concerned that Gouge, it's a new offensive line coach, might not be as good as advertised? Thanks, guys. Enjoy the pod.
I'm not saying he's amazing, but he is better than Colombo. You see them doing different things that are better. And when you bring context to the sacks, it's not these, besides Shane Lemieux, it's not these guys just getting beat one-on-one. You know, Shane Lemieux is really the only guy who's just getting beat one-on-one. And, you know, Parrott is, you know, he's going to have some young rookie issues regardless. Lemieux is really the only guy who just gets beat in pass blocking. And the running game, yeah, it has been better. They didn't get to run a lot on Sunday, but when they did run, it was pretty good. I mean, and 2 of the 6 sacks on Sunday were from the running backs. Like 2 of them were the running backs. And then another 2 were Shane Lemieux. Another 2, Matt Parrott.
I get frustrated when they do the max protection thing and they allow a sack. You have 8 guys blocking on the offensive line, and you somehow allow a sack under 3 seconds.
The running back has screwed it up. Wayne Gallman screwed it up both times.
Yeah, I'm trying to find this.
Alfred Morris want to do that.
I'm trying to find the PFF Giants account. They tweeted out
the 2.5 seconds thing.
Yeah.
10 times.
Which is 10.
Most.
Daniel Jones is one of only 2 QBs this season to be sacked more than 10 times within 2.5 seconds. This is one of those examples of it either could be the Giants offensive line has been so bad in years past that I see that and I still think to myself, but this Giants offensive line has been better this year. It's crazy. But also it could be we just watch the Giants and we watch the Giants so intently more than any other team that that surprises me that he's been sacked this quickly and the line has been that bad, at least at times.
That's it's been two of them been from the running backs. That's for sure.
Yeah. Also another question about the whole Lemieux and Hernandez thing. We got a YouTube comment that I actually thought was somewhat interesting, and I wanted to hear your opinion on it. About Lemieux is gonna just goof up every once in a while. Like he's gonna whiff on a block and he's gonna allow a sack. But Lemieux doesn't give up ground in pass protection. Whereas Hernandez, and this was what a YouTube comment said, and whereas Hernandez allows the pocket to collapse, where he's holding his guy, but he's getting pushed back. So that's why that person prefers Lemieux over Hernandez. What do you think about that?
It's just not true.
Okay.
Hernandez is a good pass blocker. He's above average. Shane Lemieux is below average. That's not the reason why. It's either they just want to start the young guy or something else. I don't know.
I don't know. COVID is also the underlying factor that we don't know for both him and Parrott. Okay. Tim Coffey, friend of the program. Can we explore the scenarios involving the Ryan signing, the Logan Ryan extension? Why I don't like it that much and what it means for guys like Peppers, Dalvin Tomlinson, and Julian Love. Am I just not good with the cap and not looking forward to 2022 when it will all speculatively be a lot more? I'm guessing he means the cap space. The cap space is going to be a lot more in 2022. Can we keep Logan Ryan and Jabril Peppers?
Yeah, you can. Obviously, they're gonna have to make some decisions on Dalvin and Leonard. But if you're getting Logan Ryan at $10 million, Pep's not going to get more than that most likely. If they don't sign Peppers, I don't think it's going to be because of Logan Ryan. Is basically what I'm saying. Like if they want to bring back Peppers, they'll find a way. If they don't bring back Peppers, it's going to be like, hey, we don't want to pay for a safety who plays the box role, which I do think they'll want. I do think they'll want to pay for him, but Peppers, like, he's not going to get like a Landon Collins. I don't think a safety will ever get that Landon Collins contract again. Well, I
never
guess
again.
some guys have with like Budda Baker and stuff.
Yeah.
But we would now maybe if we're really good next year and top of the league and Pepper starts getting that shine, just like because a lot of it does have to do with outside, like what people think of you from the outside. But Peppers doesn't have that yet. And
No.
Logan Ryan's been well known in the league for a long time. He's tested free agency before. So I don't think it would. Like, I think if they don't bring back Jabril Peppers, it's because the dollar sign didn't make sense for Peppers, regardless of Logan Ryan.
Yeah. Yeah. And the Logan Ryan deal seems very team friendly. Very.
Basically a 2-year deal.
Yeah.
I'm assuming because it's
a 2-year deal.
It's 2/3 of it is guaranteed. That on a 3-year deal, that usually means that it's a 2-year deal where you could cut him after the second year.
I thought
So
he
it's a
was
very
definitely going to
friendly deal.
demand a lot more than 10 million because there was a reason why he didn't sign this year. This year, there was a reason why he didn't sign until
We only
the
got
summer.
7.5.
But I thought he was going to want more than 10. Like, that's why I thought that he was waiting and he was going to, and after having a really good year this year, I thought that he was going to get it. He feels valued by the Giants, and that's also a plus for Joe Judge, in terms of talking about possibly bringing in a free agent. If you are a hard worker and you are a guy that, does what you have to do, you are going to be valued by this coaching staff and you're going to be valued by this team. And Logan Ryan is example A1 of that happening. I even think Leonard Williams is an example of that too. After a lot of doubt was cast upon him, and then believing in himself, and they believed in him to do what he has to do, and he's had a good year.
And Peppers is a real leader, not just yell loud and then throw people under the bus kind of leader.
Yeah,
and say we don't want a certain coach because he's going to make us work hard.
absolutely.
That's shade at Landon Collins.
Ooh, shade.
Do you remember that where he's like, that's when the Bill Belichick coming back to the Giants stuff was at its highest, and he's like, we don't really want a coach that's like that. It's like, what do you mean like that? One that's won 6 Super Bowls and is going to make you work your ass off. You don't want a coach like that.
There were a lot of things I think happened with all of with the Apples, with the Beckhams, with the Collins. There was a lot of things that happened that I think were very under the wraps, and they were quiet about a lot of things because then those guys leave the Giants and they're running their mouths all day. So
yeah, I'm just not a Landon Collins fan. It was cool that he played well at times for us, but I'm just not. I don't know why we're revisiting this. All right, next we got a voicemail.
yes, we do.
What's up, Talking Giants? It's Ethan here from South Jersey. And just a few things from today's game. I just finished watching the Eagles game, and it's ridiculous that we're still in the race for the division. I mean, losing 3 straight and looking awful in all 3 games. But wanted to comment on how, all things considered, Daniel Jones looked pretty good today. I mean, no turnovers, and he probably wasn't even 100% that we know of. Garrett, not a bad day, but that screenplay was just bad. That's pretty much it. Go Giants.
Thank you, Ethan, for calling in. Yeah, I mean, I know we hit on it a little bit. Sorry, our voicemails were a little out of whack because some were like super long, and it was hard to fit them in to the beginning of the show. If you eliminate the Arizona game where he was really hurt, like he was gimpy in that game, especially towards the end. And he was literally playing on no good legs. Like, I like saying that. Like, as a reminder of that game, he had 0 good legs in that game. So you think about this game against Baltimore. I get they didn't win and they didn't put up a ton of points, but when you pop in the all-22 for this game, he looked good. Like he just did. The game before that was Cincinnati, where he was balling. The Eagles game, he played damn near perfect before that. The week before that was Washington, where a game where he didn't light it up, but it's like they got 20-something points in the first half. And then the second half, he literally had 1 incompletion that was a drop by Evan Ingram that kept them out of scoring range. And then the game before that was Tampa.
Yeah.
So the game before that was the first Eagles game where Daniel Jones played really good in that game. And then, Evan Ingram dropping it, let the team down. So you look at it from, the past 6-7 games, he's been good. He's been good. hasn't been hitting those stick routes and hesitant, although they still continue to be the most dangerous play in the playbook. Almost at, the first pass of the game was that. So if you think about him in the last 6-7 games, the touchdowns aren't there, and that does bother me. I do think it's a product of the offense a little bit, but he hasn't made any horrible mistakes besides Tampa, and he's been able to move the ball a little bit too.
Yeah. And we've been breaking it down all year, whether you want to be someone who believes that because the quarterback is the most valuable position in sports and because it's the position that can have the most impact on the result of a win of a game in terms of you winning or losing. If you want to be somebody that's still watches this team week in and week out and says, Daniel Jones isn't doing enough because look at this quarterback doing other things elsewhere. Look at this quarterback doing other things elsewhere. Bobby and I, we've been trying to break it down and say no quarterback could operate in this offense and over exceed expectations to the point where they would be putting 300 yards on the board, 2-3 touchdowns every game. It's not possible. It's not possible when there isn't an explosive play opportunity to be found anywhere, when there's no yards after the catch, when your skill position players aren't allowed to separate themselves physically and metaphorically. And you just have a lack of talent.
And this Baltimore game was against I know the Ravens defense hasn't been what it has been in past, last year, but they are a really good defense with a lot of talented players and good coverage. And, a defensive coordinator who I love, and Wink Martindale. If you've been listening to the show for a year, you know how much I love Wink. They are a really good defense. So even with some lack of talent, this was a game where we were certainly, outmatched talent wise, where in games past, where it's we shouldn't be, we shouldn't worry about the talent versus the Browns defense, although they have some talented players, the Browns defense, the Bengals defense, the Eagles defense. And it's been this conservative crap. I talked about, they did that, the deep concepts 19 times. Most games it's between the 6 and 9 range. Most games it's between the 6 and 9 range. So that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah.
Next question.
We have a question from Danny B at Bozzy18. Let's say the Giants make the playoffs and lose right away. Is there a real benefit from a player/team point of view of just having that experience, although we lost? Also, does it help keep someone like Garrett in a job if we do make the playoffs? P.S. Congratulations to Justin for being a winner in fantasy. Winners lose, losers lose. Thank you, Danny.
Winners lose, losers lose.
Oh, I read that wrong. I can't read today. Winners win, losers lose.
Whatever.
Bobby's just salty that I don't have to pay my league admission fee. And
I wasn't running that team anyway, so it doesn't bother me.
Oh, it doesn't bother you.
It does, but still. Yes, there's always value in it's good to go to the playoffs. I get, they I don't think they're gonna make any deep run, but it's good to go to the playoffs, and that is just I know this is it's people talk about meaningless wins. Nothing is meaningless for these guys. Okay. That Washington game. Do you think Daniel Jones throwing 5 touchdowns versus Washington last year was meaningless to him?
No.
It helps him in his career case, where say he doesn't play that game. Well, then he has, 19 touchdowns. Nothing is meaningless to these guys fighting for jobs every year. Every snap matters. So having some playoff experience matters. You see what these guys look like. That being said, could it keep Jason Garrett? Yeah, that's the scariest thing to me, is it could keep Jason Garrett.
I want the Giants to go to the playoffs. I want Joe Judge to get the experience of preparing for a playoff game, playing in a playoff game. I have a theory, by the way. I think if fans were allowed in the stadium, and if 80,000 plus were allowed to go into MetLife Stadium and get absolutely pumped for this game and experience this game on Sunday, I think the tone of the fan base would be a lot different than it is right now. I get most of the people that are Giants fans, a very large majority, and most of the people online, that maybe they don't even live in the East Coast, so they can't even go to the game. So maybe their tone would be the same, but I have a feeling that if you just allowed the energy of the fans to be in the stadium, the energy of the fan base would be a lot different this week. Because what's getting the most traction online in terms of conversations that are happening and conversations that are happening amongst Giants fans, it's not talking about this Dallas game. It's talking about Dave Gettleman. It's talking about Jason Garrett. And like, come on. Like, I don't want to go on a huge rant and have about like, oh, that's wrong. You shouldn't be doing it. Because who am I to judge how you root as a fan? But come on.
Got a game to win. We've got a game to
Exactly.
win. We've got a game. I mean, I want them to play for the playoffs. They will. So, and I think
also,
that would be valuable for
Giants,
Joe Judge too.
You can be, you can want a quarterback, a new quarterback, all you want, right? And here's my take on it. If you have a top 10, especially top 5 pick, if you have a top 5 pick and you're not intending on taking a quarterback, I don't view that pick much different than if you were to get the 20th pick. I don't view it much different unless you're going to be taking a quarterback.
Well, think offensive tackle. We took Andrew Thomas 4th. Would we have been cool with Mekhi Becton 11th or Tristan Wirfs 15th?
Yes.
Yes, we would have been fine with that. Think about wide receivers. What guy went first? Ruggs?
Are you cool with Justin Jefferson?
Yeah,
who
would have been cool with Justin Jefferson. So, yeah, I agree.
Jalen
Like,
Reagor.
I don't think that will make the difference in us being a good team and a bad team is that.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's different if you're looking for a quarterback. The Giants they're not going to draft a quarterback this year.
They're not.
They're
Sorry.
not. And I don't think they should either, to be honest. So, next question.
Next question. We have Brian Porres. Brian Porres. On behalf of Golmanite Nation, I ask if Wayne Train has shown enough to be retained as a relatively inexpensive backup to Saquon.
$1 million or less. Or
Yeah,
in that area, like if they sign him for under $2 million, I'm fine with that. But he's just not the type to be a backup. He needs volume to be successful. So
that's what
I'm just not banging on the table. Like I'd be fine just having Alfred Morris as the backup, as crazy as that sounds.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. It's just he's not a change of pace running back. He needs the volume, he needs the carries, because clearly the only time in his career so far where he's gotten sustainable carries was this year, and he's had success. And Bobby, I thought he missed. I thought he missed some holes last week too.
He did.
There was some plays where he should have trusted maybe Cam Fleming a little bit more, which is tough to say. Trusted Cam Fleming a little bit more.
There's
to
a
run
lot
right
of times
behind him.
It's the pros and cons of Gallman. Is that he will get you your 3 to 5 yards, but there's times where it's like, dude, if you follow who's pulling, you got a big play here. But it's like he sees a lane. He's like, I got to get my 4 or 5 yards, which I get, and I'm not mad at him because that's who he is. Because what happens with that is like you think about those plays, but then in the plays where it could be a 1 yard loss, he's getting 3 yards or 4 yards or pushing a pile and getting 8, 9 yards. So it's the good with the bad, but he's just not like, look at his numbers when he's a backup. They're not good. They're not good when he's a backup.
No. And I think you can easily find that guy in the undrafted free agent pool, not John Hillman. And this is where I will get ignorant football fan. Other teams find their backup running backs in the 6th, 7th round and undrafted free agents, but why can't the Giants? That's where I will get ignorant football fan. So,
I mean, last year my mock draft had 2 running backs in the 7th round. How about that?
My boy JJ Taylor had a really good run last night. One really good run.
My 2 were Javon Leake, who was with the Giants. I think he's actually with Washington now, and then DJ Dallas. But he ended up getting picked in the 3rd or 4th round. So, it is what it is.
We also were. Everybody was
Homer in the 6th round last year.
Everybody was mocking.
Draft.
Everybody was mocking AJ Dillon to be taken in like the 5th, 6th round, and lo and behold,
the Packers took him in the 2nd round. That was nuts. I'll save. You know what? There's a lot of takes. Like we're gonna have a lot to talk in the offseason. I'll save some stuff for the offseason. All right, next.
We have a game to win.
Next question. Do we have a voicemail next?
Yeah, we have 3 voicemails. We're gonna rattle them off, and then we're out of here.
All right, here we go. We got Zach.
Hey guys, this is Zach Johnson from Boston, Massachusetts. I'm calling from my car, driving back from my parents' house, visiting them from Christmas this weekend. So just quick thoughts on the game. The only really positive takeaway I have is that Jones looked healthy. He was hitting most of his spots on his throws, specifically down. Just the usual. Wide receivers not getting separation, dropping passes. Garrett just uninspiring, competitive play calling. Really would love to see Freddie Kitchens get a chance to call a game with Jones under center, but unfortunately don't think we'll get to see that. Offensive line looked horrible, and our defense just looked horrible all around. So don't really want to spend too much time there, but just a quick question for you guys. The Cowboys game just finished up, so they did beat the Eagles, so our playoff hopes are still alive. If the Eagles win next week, the Giants will actually either finish first in the division or last, which I find pretty interesting. I'm just kind of curious what your guys' thoughts would be as far as long-term ramifications. You know, do we think winning that game and getting a playoff spot is better for us, or losing that game and getting a top 10 pick? And also kind of your general thoughts on the season and how much you think the outcome of that game kind of plays into how you feel about this team. You know, to me, 6-10 season where we make playoffs doesn't really mean a whole bunch, so I don't think it holds much weight for me, but just curious what you guys think. Love the content. Keep up the good work.
Hey, thank you, Zach, for calling in. We kind of answered this a little bit before, but what I will say is, like, yeah, the 6-10 and making the playoffs hold a lot of weight. No, but it's an opportunity. Take advantage of it. Take advantage of it. Win the NFC East. Continue to build off of it. And you know, like we said before, I don't think us having the 19th pick versus, you know, the 7th or 8th pick, because this whole, you know, I get the whole joke of like we could be third, like that's not going to happen. So I don't think the 12 spots difference is going to make or break us being a good team. It's how well do we draft with those picks,
and especially when you're not taking a quarterback. That's the thing.
Most of the best players in the NFL come in like the second half of the first round.
Yeah,
you know. So
what was I going to say? Oh, I think I would. All right, so this is also interesting. Just as a fan, right, and also people that have to stay up late and wait for the result of the Washington Philly game to see how we're going to be talking about the game at 1:00.
Oh, I forgot about that. We're gonna have to record after Sunday Night Football if they lose. If
the Giants, I would rather have, if the Eagles are going to win Sunday night. No, wait, what am I trying to think here? What would I rather have happen at 1:00? If Washington wins, I would rather have if I know Washington's going to win 100%, if I could tell the future, I would want the Giants to lose, right? Because I don't want to deal with that, you know, anxiety of the whole day of, because if Washington wins,
it wouldn't matter because you just would know the future.
Well, all right, I'm hypotheticals here, Bobby. If I know for a fact Washington is going to win, I would want the Giants to lose. Yes.
No, because that emotion, like, that's a good feeling. I know it'll be a letdown, but, and here's the thing, especially for us, like recording wise, it's like if we're in the playoffs, we're recording an episode. It's late, who cares? You know, we're talking about being in the playoffs. The thing. If not, we're not recording that night, so we're waiting till Monday night. So
if Washington is going to win, and this is us just for us recording wise, if Washington is going to win, I would want the Giants to lose just so I don't have to be anxious for those couple hours in terms of what is going to happen.
That anxious, man, that's what sports are about, dude.
No. I would first of all, Snacks and I are people that we eat ourselves to the point where we're in pain when we're anxious, especially about sports. In life, I can't eat if I'm anxious, but in sports, if I'm anxious about something, I just eat and I punish myself. And Snacks punishes himself with Domino's. I just punish myself with whatever assortment is in the fridge.
So now you can't do it. All right, next voicemail. This is our friend Joey at Big Blue Hulk.
Oh, hey Joey.
Here he is. Speak up, Joe.
Hey guys, this is Joey from Beltsville, Maryland. At Big Blue Hulk on Twitter. I'm in my bedroom being consoled by a weighted blanket after just having listened to your last episode. Thanks for doing that after that game, by the way. I know it wasn't easy.
You're welcome.
My thoughts on the Gettleman situation. And I know everybody's kind of, I'm tired of people trying to tell me that they're playing the result and being objective. You can't be objective and pick one data point. That's cherry picking data to fit a narrative. That said, I don't think he's absolved from responsibility. I do think one thing needs to be considered here. I don't think he gets hired if he doesn't tell Mara that he's going to try and build around Eli one more time. It seems like most of the indictments around David Gettleman surround the 2018 decisions, both free agency and the draft. Those decisions and coaching hire, because I think Pat Shermer's a big part of it. Pat Shermer was not the right coach for a rebuild. He was the right coach for trying to put a veteran roster together to make one more run. And you saw that in 2019. You see the decisions on free agents and players in the draft were for 2018 were all built around trying to build around Eli. So personally, I think that was more of an organizational decision. I don't think Gettleman really had a choice but to do that, and I don't think he gets hired unless he does that. Since then, I think most of his decisions around the rebuild, they're building the right way. They're attacking offensive line, they're prioritizing offensive line and secondary. Not all those decisions have panned out. Some of that's on him. I don't think he should have traded up for DeAndre Baker, but if he had taken him in the second round there, I would not have faulted him for it. It would have been an excellent pick based on the time frame. You can't hold him accountable for dumb shit that a player does that no one could have seen coming. Enough with the character crap. It's such a stupid idea to say that, there were character concerns. There were not character concerns that were going to be about him, holding a gun to somebody's head. And then it turned out to be false anyway. So can't put that on him, I don't think. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. I think it depends on how you feel, how responsible he should be for 2018. That's really it. I don't think so, but if you do, it's fine. But don't give me this 20 play the results is being objective. That's just not true.
All right, I'm gonna go with this because I'm more pro Gettleman than most people. It's not just playing the results. Okay, like I agree with what a lot of what Joey's saying, like the DeAndre Baker take. I agree with him with that, where it's like the whole character, like you can't predict that. Although you can look at some stuff, like I think you could have predicted Dwayne Haskins if you asked around, his coaches and stuff. If Baker was a guy falling in sleep, like you can predict that. You can find out from coaches. You like that's part of your job. But guess who hired Pat Shermer? And I didn't hate the Pat Shermer. Like people know my feelings on Pat Shermer, but he hired Pat Shermer. And I get they're building around Eli. Well, wouldn't building around Eli mean we have a better offense than the 31st ranked offense now with the new QB? And it's like, well, it's a wide, like there's just all these things. And I agree. If you want him to be back, and I almost fall in that. I think I go back and forth. Like there's times when I'm thinking and I'm like, I want to bring him back because I like what he did in 2020. But everything put together, you can play the results. Okay. We don't win games. We have the 31st ranked offense in the NFL 3 years in. And we've drafted on offense. We've drafted for offense. We've signed free agents. And so building around Eli, like John Mayer didn't force him to sign Nate Solder. And honestly, you've made this point too, unless John Mayer comes in and says, I forced him to do this, well, we got to hold Dave Gettleman accountable. Okay. So now there could be some stuff behind the scenes and we don't know that, but it's okay to not like Dave Gettleman. Like, I think I'm on both sides. But like, I'm so sick of the pushback from some people saying like, oh, well, this, it's everything is an excuse, but you give him all the credit for the good things. Like, well, it's Joe Judge. It's Joe Judge when it's this, it's John Mayer when it's bad. It's okay to be anti-Dave Gettleman. He hasn't shown enough for people to not be anti-Dave Gettleman. He just hasn't. So, and playing the results is objective. We lose. And it's not like we have this amazing team and we lose. We need an edge rusher like crazy. And we've got BJ Hill, who we took in the 3rd round on the bench because we went and got Dexter Lawrence and then Leonard Williams, who we're both going to, Leonard Williams on an expiring contract. And I get Leonard Williams has been great, but that was a bad deal. And I said that even at the height of his good play. But there's nothing wrong with being anti-Dave Gettleman. And on the opposite side, I think if you're pro Gettleman, you can't say Gettleman's amazing, but you can say, hey, I like him and I think he deserves another year. I'm totally fine with that. But I'm so tired of like pushback from like, oh, well, everything that bad happened was John Mara's fault. Well, then Dave Gettleman needs to stick up to John Mara and tell him what the right decision is to do. Like if John Mara, like I just have a hard time believing that John Mara's like, you guys are hiring Jason Garrett. If Dave Gettleman pushed back and he knows he has a rookie coach who's not, it can't be that outspoken in his first year. If Dave Gettleman says, no, we're not doing Jason Garrett, we're hiring somebody else. He like do that. So if the issue, Justin, is that it's John Mara's fault, what's going to stop Dave Gettleman from just bending the knee to John Mara in the future when he wants to make decisions? That's my issue. It's like, okay, then clearly him and John Mara don't really have a great working relationship on a results-based basis. So I know I just went on a rant, but I see people on both sides, and it's it is objective. But when you look at everything objective and all types of conflict, you can land on both sides. And being anti-Dave Gettleman is totally fine. He has not done enough. I'm fine with giving him another year. I would be cool with it. I wouldn't be mad at all. I would not be mad at all if Dave Gettleman is the general manager 2 weeks from now. But people being mad that he is that's totally fine to be that way.
It was good. It was good.
Kind of rambled. I didn't,
No, that was good. No, that was great. I kind of had a coming to earth moment of if Dave Gettleman really wanted to, or if Dave Gettleman and John Mara really wanted to turn around the Giants offense in 2018, why not take an offensive lineman that would have probably helped out Eli more than a running back? But anyway, I agree with everything you said. At the end of it, and you said it in that great soliloquy speech that you had right there. Even the people that are in the building that are paid to report to the public, even the people that are in the building, quote unquote, they don't know the dynamic that happens. They don't know the dynamic between Dave Gettleman and John Mara. Their guess is honestly as good as ours in terms of inferring of, oh, this is a decision that was made for, PR. We want to appease to Eli because we screwed him over and we benched him, and that was a bad move, and we went back on that move, even though John Mara signed off on that move. And then you can point to 2019 saying, oh, these are smart moves centered around positional value and what best reflects the game today. And even taking DeAndre Baker in the second round, taking a corner in the second round, trading up for a corner that you believe in. Those are moves that are centered around positional value, prioritizing your secondary, drafting a left tackle in the top 5 that isn't a quarterback. I mean, the left tackle is the second most important position in the game of football behind quarterback. So there have been moves that have been made that have reflected positional value after you maybe can infer that John Mara was not involved in those moves. But at the end of the day, Bobby, it is a guess because we are not in the building and nobody knows. So you are totally right to repeat what you said. You have to play the results. You have to, because we don't know. We just realistically don't know what's happening and what the dynamic is. So you can't definitively say anything. And John Mara is not being fired. John Mara, it cannot be fired. John Mara will not sell the team. John Mara will not fire Chris Mara. He will not fire his brother at this point. He will not fire all of the people that have been in the organization for 20 years. That's illogical. You can have that opinion, and power to you. Power to you. And in a way, you wouldn't be wrong. But Bobby and I, we cannot objectively sit here and talk about this team week by week and just throw out these theories of John Mara needs to fire Chris Mara. John Mara needs to fire all these people that have been working for the Giants for 30 years. And while that may be a correct take, it is not reasonable. That is the irreasonable take. Not Dave Gettleman is a fool, because he kind of showed to be a fool at times.
And my rant here's let me narrow it down to 2 points. If you want to bring Dave Gettleman back, point to 2020 and 2019-ish. Do it. But don't absolve him from 2018. You can't totally absolve him from that. And then the build off that, my second point is, like I said, if you think John Mara is the fault for the bad decisions, well, that means they don't have a good working relationship. That Dave Gettleman doesn't feel like he can make the right decision, even if it will go against what John Mara is saying. That's those 2 points. I am not some person who thinks like, Oh, if they bring Gettleman back, they're so dumb. I'm fine with it. I won't be mad at all. I really won't be. In fact, I go back and forth. Some days I want to bring him back. Some days I want to move on. So yeah, I'm just on both sides. I'm so tired of like this idea that you can't have a strong opinion one way or the other. It's okay to like Gettleman. It's okay to hate him. Well, don't hate somebody, but you know what I mean. All right, let's finish it off with who do we have? I think we got Eric, right? Yep.
Hey, Bobby and Justin, it's Eric in Naples. I'm at the bar. We're down 20-3 to the Ravens, and I'm just getting real with you. That Seattle win was a farce, and it gave us a false hope. And look at our other wins: 2 against Washington, 1 against Philly. We're a bad football team like we've been for years. I'm not seeing the upside anymore. We can't run a 5-yard route and get open. We can't do anything. Jones can't do anything. We're terrible. And this is such a hard message to send, but we are terrible. The defense, teams have figured out our zone. We have no pass rush, so our zone means nothing anymore. We're terrible. We're going to go 5-11. And I don't see any hope. On a side note, I left a message for you guys in one of the YouTube comments that since we got nothing to talk about with the Giants, maybe you guys could share some of your personal stories we'd like to hear. Like I'd love to know about Bobby's high school football experience, if he went on to play college, how that was. I'd like to know where Justin's seats are at Giant Stadium. Maybe some of his favorite experiences there, because I got nothing from this team. Nothing. Our special teams is terrible. We're terrible. Our roster is terrible. I'm not going to blame it on Judge, but our roster is horseshit.
Oh.
Thanks, guys.
All right, thank you, Eric.
Eric in Naples always gives us his authentic feelings every single week, and I
right after the game. It's a staple of the Wednesday show. So why don't you answer the end of that question? What's like your favorite like MetLife experience?
Well, my seats are section 315, row 16, seats 13, 14. I've actually been thinking a lot about January 1st or 2012, where week 17 it was basically MetLife's first playoff game, even though they technically had their first playoff game the week after. But that game where it was kind of raining, the weather was kind of crappy, but it wasn't too cold. Cruz taking it to the house, Justin Tuck having an awesome game against Tony Romo. And that being just an easy game where it wasn't like anxiety written or anything like that from start to finish. It was an easy game, Sunday Night Football. Nothing beats a meaningful game on Sunday Night Football. Just celebrate, just having a great time. So I've been thinking about that game recently and how actually drawing similar parallels to what, week 17 this year at home, kind of close to New Year's, except, the only difference is that Eli Manning had an MVP caliber season and nobody on the Giants has had an MVP caliber like season. So, but kind of a similar game. You win and you're in. This game kind of is a playoff game. So,
yeah, I mean, we'll at least have that, like that buzz of like, hey, we got a chance.
Yeah.
Like we did our job. We've got a chance.
Yeah.
I'll do the quick thing. Obviously, did play high school football. Played at a small school in college, St. Olaf. Long story short, and one day I actually do want to share all this, but it'll probably be more something in the off season. Long story short, I left after 2 years for issue. I left after 2 years, basically. I didn't finish school.
School's for chumps. Yeah,
school's for fools. That's what I said. I said school's for fools. I'm out. School's for fools. Clean pools. So the long story short, but I would like to share like that whole, like how the recruiting stuff worked. So maybe one day I'll share that more, but I just don't want to go into detail right now on it. But I will one day, Eric. So I appreciate your interest. And I think it'll be a cool story, but I don't want to do it on a week 16 mailbag episode, All right, is that all we got, Justin?
Bobby, we got a game to win.
We got a game to win. Beat the freaking Cowboys. I'm already pumped for the preview episode. That's how pumped I am to win this game. Like it's gonna be fun. So we appreciate you guys. We're gonna get out of here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for dealing with some rants. We appreciate you guys. We'll see you on Friday for the Cowboys preview. We're gonna go to the playoffs, and we're probably gonna win the Super Bowl too. Honestly. Until then, let's go Big Blue.